everybody, and welcome to Blue Jays Today, folks, where today, my God, on a Monday, October 2nd, we are going to be previewing the wild card series between the Toronto Blue Jays and the Minnesota Twins, baby. We have had a rough season as fans, ups and downs, and so have the players, as they've admitted. It's been a rocky road, but this is why we're watching baseball, to get to this point right here, a critical series over at Target Field. We're going to be breaking down everything that we need to be looking for in this series, and a big advantage for the Toronto Blue Jays as well. I'm your host, Adam Peddle.
And I'm your host, Nicholas Playlog. And folks, every single thing that we did in the season, the players did in the season, that is completely forgiven, folks. This is a new day, a new dawn, everyone. Like, it is this series, and then the next day, and the next day after that, right? We're just taking it day by day. So everybody, you can make a name for yourself in this postseason, and my God, man, if whoever wants to be the hero in this wild card series and bring us to the ALDS, that will be a name that I will always freaking remember.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, hey, you were saying in one of our live streams, like, we just need the breakout guy. We need that kind of guy.
The hero.
Yeah. And we've seen some heroes break out for the Toronto Blue Jays in the past month. I mean, the guy with the most playing time in ABs, he has also the most OPS. It's Vladimir Guerrero Jr., just as an example. We've been waiting for that hero to show up. But again, he may not even show up for the series. It might be Kiermaier, it might be Varsho, I don't know. Whatever it is, I'm excited to watch. Very critical. Every pitch is going to be very, very stressful, thought over, and I'm excited, man.
And we are going to be live here for every single game, by the way, folks. So mark it in your calendar, lock it in. When the game starts, we will also be there too. Let's take a look at this big advantage, because the Minnesota Twins, they are going to be looking for a bunch of heroes on their team. Unexpected heroes, man. Because a lot of the players that they have had that have brought them to this place right now, that have got them this winning record and won them their division, they are not necessarily going to be on the team, or they are just going to be coming back from the IL, which they have been on for a while. Flash it up, dude. This is a bunch of names. You're looking at Gallo, you're looking at Correa, you're looking at Buxton. Like, these are big, big names that may or may not be playing with them. And let's face it, dude, even if they are playing with them, these guys could be cold.
I mean, that's the whole thing we got to look at, right? I mean, they have a bunch of guys that are actually coming back. Like, Miranda could potentially play in this series. Royce Lewis could potentially play in this series. Correa, Byron Buxton. These guys are names for these Minnesota Twins. But they've been kind of going. They're on the 10-day IL. They're going day to day right now. This isn't good for a team that needs to stay hot going into the stretch. And what's brought them here, like you said, they've been 18-9 in the last 30 days. They've been extremely hot, winning the division, being the second best record in baseball. And it's dudes who are young, they're brought up, and they're splitting playing time. You're seeing splitting playing time at first around the infield and the outfield for them, all over the diamond. Those are the boys that brought them here, that made them the second best team in baseball. If I'm a Blue Jay, I want these guys back. I'm not even gonna be honest, guys. I want Carlos Correa in the lineup. I want Byron Buxton. Byron Buxton hasn't played any center field this year, barely at all. DHing, and his numbers have reflected the poor performance of not being like the all-star caliber he was years ago. I want these dudes in lineup so the Blue Jays can get a lot of swing and miss with those cold bats.
Well, it's a different type of mindset, right? Would you rather have these effectively no-name guys, the unexpected heroes, if you will, from these Minnesota Twins, their versions of the Davis Schneiders and the Spencer Horwitzes and all of those guys, right, who have been very good and been filling in for these dudes for the last month? Do you want them, these young guys, come in and playing in the postseason, or would you rather have these big names like Correa, like Buxton, like Gallo, who are obviously very experienced, been in situations like this before, but like you said, have been chilling on the bench for a while? And we've seen it time and time again, right? You have quality players, but when they're not in their rhythm, when they're brought back, maybe even sooner than they should be, because I don't know how fully healthy these guys are, right? If playoffs is playoffs, right? You got to show up regardless of how healthy you are. So we don't know where they're at, 100% or not. But they come out, and it takes them a while to get adjusted. Even Bo Bichette, the best hitter on the Toronto Blue Jays, took him a week or 2 weeks before he started really getting going again. And we're just seeing it right now, walking into postseason, that Bo Bichette is starting to look like the player that he was in the first half of the season, right? This happens to everyone, and I wouldn't be shocked at all if you see these dudes come back and yeah, their game just isn't necessarily up to speed with our Toronto Blue Jays pitchers.
Exactly, guys. Like, you want to come back, maybe get an easier pitcher to, like, warm up off of. He's going to make a few mistakes, but it's the wild card series, man. You're not going to get anything but excellent aces on the bump, especially, and everyone around the league is kind of agreeing. I was doing a bunch of deep diving, just like looking at MLB analysts, looking at other podcasts, and what's their breakdown on this series. Everyone agrees. Blue Jays has the best rotation going into the playoffs. They don't want to face the Toronto Blue Jays rotation in the playoffs. So if Byron Buxton comes back, if Carlos Correa comes back, Game 1 already just been announced today. Kevin Gausman, he's going to be taking the bump, and he's going to go up against Lopez on the other side of things. But you got Kevin Gausman, Bassett, and Berrios potentially to follow him.
Yeah,
that's really tough. And I like your point too about like bringing back or like if you do play the young guys. Is the lights going to be a little bit too bright, especially when the whole kind of curse around the Twins being 1-18 in the postseason since 2004? They haven't won a playoff game since that year.
Yeah,
is that going to be too much pressure for those young guys?
Listen, man, this right here, this is why the Toronto Blue Jays have a serious shot in this postseason. Gausman, Bassett, Berrios, these dudes have been here before, and they are very talented, folks. This Toronto Blue Jays pitching staff, it could potentially go on a bit of a run and take us to the freaking promised land, man. If you can get your lineup scoring 3, 4, 5 runs a game, that might be all that we need to win with the pitching staff. This experienced and this freaking talented, and this deep too, man. And I'm not even factoring in our bullpen is elite. So I like what a lot of these other podcasters are saying right now, because yes, Gausman is elite, Bassett is elite, Berrios is elite, that bullpen is elite. And if I'm any other lineup right now looking at this Toronto Blue Jays pitching staff, yeah, I'm a little bit worried.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of just said, I was going to say, like, the key to the games, guys, the key to every single one of these games, we need some timely hitting from the hitting.
Of course.
That's been the story all year. It's not going to change. It's not going to get any different here in the postseason. I have faith that the lineup that we're going to see in the Minnesota Twins, yes, let me flash over a graphic here. Yes, the Minnesota Twins lineup has actually been quite phenomenal, not only against us, but in the last half of baseball. If you look over here, since July 2nd, they have had an OPS of almost 800, folks. And against us in 6 games, they have an OPS of 779. But again, just pointing one more time, exclamation point, guys, if we just get those injured guys in the lineup, it's going to take a lot longer than I hope than 3 games to get adjusted to quality pitching. I think that's going to be the key to victory. So that side of things is going to be handled, in my opinion. So if you can just come up with the timely hitting against some of these other good pitchers, very good, then you're going to win this series, folks.
Yeah, no, 100%, dude. And, when you put it that way, I do like our chances. And I'm almost scared to say that, because we were talking very similarly last year about the Seattle Mariners series, right? We were talking very, very similarly last year, where it was like, where we're walking in, and it's like, in that regard, it was like, well, our pitching's pretty similar, but our offense is just way better than theirs, is right. Well, our offense is going to take us to the promised land. That was the argument back then, right?
That was the argument back then.
And what happened was, their offense really came alive, and our pitching and our bullpen fell apart. So now we're walking in with a completely different narrative. We just flipped it right on its head, did a full 180, and now it's like, well, our pitching is good. We solved that problem completely. We just need the offense to hold up a little bit. And God forbid we get complete game shutout like we were against the Yankees or anything like that. That can't happen, man. You have got to do justice to these starting pitchers who have as a whole given the most quality starts out of any rotation in the entirety of the MLB. All of them are giving quality starts time and time again through the entire regular season. I expect that to continue in the postseason. Give me 4 runs a game, and we might take it the whole way, dude.
I agree. Well, let's start, actually. Why don't we look at the first game of the season, guy, or the series, excuse me. You've got Kevin Gausman and you've got Pablo Lopez. They're locked in for game number 1. Now, I want to flash you guys a little bit of stats right here. Kevin Gausman, yes, he's our ace, but doesn't really do too well against the Twins this year. First time up, he had 1 earned run, 5 1/3 inning pitch. That was back when their offense wasn't that good. We actually won that series at Target Field the first time round, 2-1. And then they come over to Toronto. They beat us 2-1, and he gets blown up in this series. 6 earned runs, 4 2/3 inning pitch. So Kevin Gausman, he's not a lock for a quality start against the second half version of those Minnesota Twins.
This to me is a shortened sample size. That's what I'm putting it out there. You know, I trust Kevin Gausman. I know what he is capable of doing. If he gets beat again by these guys in dramatic fashion like this, then after that you can say, wow, maybe the Minnesota Twins just have a really good game plan against him.
Yeah, maybe.
But one bad game in the year, right? That could happen to any team. I'm sure that there's been other teams out there that you just didn't expect that Kevin Gausman had bad games against. This happens. I'm not overtly concerned about this. And on the flip side of things, when you look at Pablo Lopez, who is going to be the guy that we're going up against in Game 1, he didn't have that great of a game against the Toronto Blue Jays in his first outing. So we could say the same argument here. 5.2 innings. I think it was 4 earned runs that he gave up. So, I mean, that right there, if the Toronto Blue Jays can do that, then money, everybody. I was looking at the Minnesota Twins bullpen as well. Very mid. In fact, they're ranked 15th in the entire league.
Here's the thing. I will say one thing. Last 30 days, they are one of the best bullpens in the strikeout rate. They have been very efficient, and their ERAs even climbed a little bit too. That's a little bit scary. They got a few guys who can pump 100 down there.
Listen, at the end of the day, they've been very good as a team in the last 30 days, right? I mean,
They've been extremely good.
If we're looking at just the last 30 days on paper, they have been better than the Toronto Blue Jays. There's no denying it, folks. There really is no denying. Offensively speaking, really across the board, they have been very good. I am hoping that the other shoe drops. I'm hoping that these injured guys potentially coming back or not coming back does change things for this team. And I'm really hoping that some of these young dudes who are carrying the Minnesota Twins and have been making some changes and are bringing them to this place, this moment has got to be too big for them. This moment has got to be too big for them.
And I'm curious to see how the Twins manager is going to manage this series with his lineup, especially because he's actually been known to pull guys out in like the 3rd inning. He will pinch hit if the situation's right in the 3rd. Because, again, he's very much righty-lefty splitties. Like, he really, folks, we got a lefty in this game, we're throwing in our right. He's got a righty, we're throwing in our lefties, right? So, I'm curious to see if he's willing to hook some of these guys early, especially people coming off the IL. Like, if he just sees, you'd had a horrible AB, you know what, okay, we got Kevin Gausman on the mound, he's a righty. I'm not waiting for you to get hot Correa. I'm hooking you for our hot lefty off the bench. I actually don't even know if the lefty is a shortstop off the bench, but they do have a lot of those options in the lineup. They're very diverse, so they'll be interesting to see.
I wouldn't be surprised at all, man. At the end of the day, right, it really is a do or die situation. You know, if you lose one game, if you lose Game 1, your odds of winning the series dramatically go down the drain, right?
Oh, so we saw that.
We saw that, yeah, exactly.
Yes,
Toronto Blue Jays dealt with that, right? So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all to even see John Schneider do some wacky stuff, dude.
Right.
And speaking of John Schneider, this entire series is going to be under a freaking microscope, man. I mean, you saw it with Charlie Montoya, too, right? I still remember, was it Shoemaker? Was it
in 2020?
Was it in 2020?
That was weird,
Was
bro.
it Shoemaker? Yeah, Shoemaker was coming out and he was pitching an absolute gem. Yeah. It was Shoemaker,
Matt
right?
Shoemaker? Yeah.
I think so.
That sounds right.
Yeah, I think it was Shoemaker. Correct me in the chat, guys, but he was pitching an absolute gem. And then after 4 innings or something like that.
I think it was 3.
Was it less than that?
Yeah, it was or 2. It was something ridiculous.
It was something ridiculous, and then Charlie Montoya pulled him, and the entire internet blew up, and that was effectively the beginning of the end of Charlie Montoya. And so, John Schneider, you've got to be very careful with the decisions that you make, dude, because every single thing is going to be under a microscope in this series.
I wouldn't be surprised if the Blue Jays do decide to add a Yusei Kikuchi. Well, I think we talked about this before. I wouldn't be surprised if they add Yusei Kikuchi in the bullpen to pitch out of there, give them length, because if you have your starter not doing well, and then you see the Twins manager start throwing in a bunch of his lefties into the lineup to counter Gausman or counter Bassett, I wouldn't be shocked if he goes, you know what? I'm countering you back. I'm throwing in Yusei Kikuchi. He's going to be 3 or 4 more innings, and he's going to go against your lefties. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that kind of move. I'd understand that move.
I do as well, dude. I completely agree. Yusei Kikuchi this year has been good enough for me to warrant something like that, right?
Yeah.
Last season's Yusei Kikuchi, we wouldn't have had that opportunity. But this year, Yusei Kikuchi, with the way that he is pitched and the fact that he is semi-familiar with the bullpen, yeah, absolutely. Throw it out there, dude. Shoot all the bullets.
Yeah. All right, well, why don't we take a moment here and actually give a quick shout-out to everybody in the chat. I got 203 people. Drop a like, guys, if you haven't already, and smash that subscribe button. We're on the road. We could be at 18K subscribers by the end of this series.
Hell yeah.
So I really hope we get there, guys. So remember to smash that subscribe button. Now, What do you think, bro? Let's give our predictions.
Okay.
Game one.
Game one. Game one, I do think that we win. That we win. I mean, Pablo Lopez, he's been good in the last 30 days, not so good in the last 14 days if you really want to boil it down.
Yeah.
But he is still a very quality pitcher. But at the end of the day, I just like Kevin Gausman a little bit better than that. And I am really taking a look at these injuries. I'm really taking a look at the roster moves that these Minnesota Twins are gonna have to make. We're gonna need to keep our eyes on that tomorrow to see what it is that they actually do decide to roll with, right? Because that is still all up in the air, folks. But I like the Blue Jays for game one, dude. I think that these Toronto Blue Jays, it's a difference of mindset because they have right up until the end been fighting for this moment. This moment. The Minnesota Twins, as much as obviously they want to win this series and like they've been thinking about this, they've effectively been out of competitive baseball for 2-3 weeks now, right? They knew that they were going to win their division. They were going to go to postseason. They knew that they were going to be in this spot for the longest period of time. They've just been kind of coasting a little bit. Even though they have been winning a lot of games, I imagine that the mindset is a little bit different. I'm hoping that the Toronto Blue Jays are just a little bit more ready for this series, so I'm saying that we take game one.
Okay, game one. Part of me wants to believe, and then just because I know the Toronto Blue Jays, part of me thinks that our bats aren't going to show up game one. They're going to not show up. Last year, they didn't show up game one either. And it always kind of feels like, with Kevin Gausman on the mound, we never score any runs. Pablo Lopez is going to bring the heat. He's been locked in as of late. Not the Pablo Lopez we saw back in May. I got a feeling they've seen Gausman a little bit sooner. They're going to get to him. But they're not going to get to him that hard. 3-4 runs, but we're not going to score any. Like, we'll score like maybe one. Like, that's the kind of feeling I got.
Right.
Now, game two, however... I think we start getting cooking with Bassett. Bassett's going to give us long inning. I think we're going to cook. We're going to find a way to get to Gray. And then game three, I'm thinking that we take game three. So I think we're going to go Jays in 3.
Wow. So that's you're really sweating it out.
We're sweating it out, bro. Would it not be the Toronto Blue Jays to not sweat it out?
Yeah, of course it would, dude. And I really do think also that there's gonna be a lot of narratives taken away from this series, right? Baseball's a game of 162 games. There's a lot of games, and it's really impossible to boil it down to 3. But Twitter and social media, they're gonna do it anyways. This is such a critical moment and a critical series for the narrative of Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and some of this core, Bo Bichette and Kevin Biggio, right? Are you clutch? Are you clutch, boys, right? Because we've seen them in the postseason. This is going to be their 3rd time in the postseason. Up until this point, they have not picked up a single W.
That's right.
Is this the core that is meant to take us, to deeper into the postseason, right?
And there's no more waiting around.
Yeah.
We've been here twice. This is our third postseason with these boys. We're 0-4. People like talking about how the Twins, they're 1-18. We're 0-4. It's a shorter sample size, but with this core, at least the Twins have a whole new team. You know what I mean? Whereas we still have the same guys that have won a postseason game. I think we're going to be 0-5 before we get to the 2-7 or 2-5 that we do make it to the ALDS. But you're right, man. They gotta just like relax.
Yeah,
it's the same game, bro. It's the same game. You're gonna get your George. You're gonna get your sliders away. Vlad, you're gonna get your sliders away. Bo, you're gonna get your sliders away. Varsho, you're gonna get your fastball sinkers on the hands. Chapman, you're gonna get your fastballs down the middle. Kevin Biggio, you're gonna get your fastballs upstairs. Kirk, you're gonna get your curveballs in there for first pitch strike, second pitch strike. I know what it's going to be.
Yeah.
They know what it's going to be. Just stay calm. Stay to your game plan. These are good pitchers, good bullpen. Just stay to your game plan, and you're gonna have a chance to win.
Yeah, and I really need to see this from them. And I think a lot of Toronto Blue Jays fans really need to see this from them because, again, if it is an embarrassing series, like let's just go down the rabbit hole. If it's an embarrassing series, then the entire narrative of Vladdy's not clutch. This core is never going to take us to the next level, right? All of that, now it gets pushed to the forefront, right? The same conversations that the Toronto Maple Leafs have every single offseason,
absolutely,
that is now 100% on the table with the Toronto Blue Jays because they are not rookies anymore. They are not in their second year or their third year. They have been in the league long enough to now be considered a veteran player, right? You are almost at free agency, guys. You are, at this point, veteran player. So this is the moment where you need to come out and you need to put your mark on the postseason and walk away with, at the very least, a series W. I am going to disagree with you. I do think that we win game 1. I'm thinking that we lose game 2 against Sonny Gray. And I am thinking that they're going to make us sweat it out. And the bias in me is just going to say that we're going to win that game against game 3. Jose Barrios going to put on a clinic against his former team.
Yeah.
He's going to pop off. He's going to show them exactly why they never should have traded him in the first place, and they should have just gave him the bag when he was asking for it.
Yeah, I mean, that would be quite storybook, right? That'd be great for the Jays.
7 innings, 0 runs.
I was thinking 7 innings, 0 runs too.
There it is.
We lock it down 4-0.
That's literally what it's got to be for these Toronto Blue Jays, folks. If we're really gonna go after, and plus Joe Ryan sucks at baseball right now.
He's really bad. I've had him in fantasy, and my God, he just has not been putting up last 30 days.
Yeah,
we'll take it, man. We'll take it.
All right, everybody, let us know your thoughts about this in the comments down below, folks. Like we said, we're gonna be live for every single postseason game the Toronto Blue Jays play in. We're also gonna be doing post-game reactions after those games, posting those out. There's gonna be a bunch of content coming, guys. This is gonna be one electric series of baseball, and I really just hope that they can make it to the weekend, man.
Man, we're gonna be stressed out as hell, but I hope that y'all will be along for the ride. Show up, guys. Game time, 4:30 tomorrow, as the Blue Jays and Kevin Gausman look to grab game 1.
Thank you so much for watching, everybody.
And as always, go Jays, go!